Hey, I'm Erinn Cottman, founder of Erinn Cottman Teacher Development, and I'm passionate about transforming education. With over a decade of experience in education and instructional leadership, I've dedicated my career to empowering educators to reach their full potential. At ECTD, we specialize in providing the support and training that schools and districts nationwide need to create a culture of coaching that enables educators to be effective and at the top of their game. Our mission is simple: to strengthen school leaders and educators to improve classroom performance. Join me on this daily journey of transformation. Together, we can spark the change that educators and students truly deserve. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Next Level Coaching with Erinn Cottman. This is episode 3, where we're going to talk about the first 30 days of coaching. If this is your first time tuning in, I am a education consultant and school leadership expert based in Atlanta, Georgia. I own Erinn Cottman Teacher Development, where we help school leaders develop a culture of instructional coaching in their buildings. I believe, and research shows, that instructional coaching and support for teachers makes a difference in their retention and their overall ability to be an effective teacher. And so that is why I get to do the amazing work that I do each and every day with schools around the country. So we're going to actually talk today just about how do you actually successfully onboard your instructional coaches. For so long, coaches are often misused and underutilized, I would say. And so I'm going to talk today about how to make sure that you use them in a way that's effective and from the jump, from the beginning of the school year. So first thing, when we're thinking about the first 30 days of coaching, before we get too far, subscribe and comment and and review the podcast, this episode. Also, we have a tool that will go right alongside this episode. So there is actually on my website, erincottman.com, there is a free tool that's called the first 30 days of coaching, right? Download that. So you don't have to take notes this entire episode. Download the tool and it will help you walk through how to successfully onboard either yourself as a coach, or if you are a coach of coaches, how to do that. All right, so first thing you want to think about during week 1 of a coach is just getting them oriented and acclimated. Coaches often are not necessarily members of the admin team, but if we're being honest, teachers can see them that way, right? And so you want to make sure that first week of school that everyone's really clear on the role of a coach, what it looks like, what they are and they are not. So I'm not your copy man. I don't run and make copies, right? Unless I'm just being helpful and kind, right? But what is the coach's job? What do they do? What can I expect from a coach? And do I know where the teachers that I'm serving, right? In that second week, I really want to start moving into relationship building and observation. So now I'm starting to just get a lay of the land. I'm not observing for feedback. I'm just observing to gather data as a coach, right? What do my teachers know? What do they not know? What are they working on? What are they good at? What are they not good at? What are their personality types? What's their teaching style, right? I'm doing all of those sorts of things in that second week. I'm also, as a coach, leading by telling my story to people, right? So I'm having those initial one-on-one with teachers so that they understand who I am, what's my educator's story, what's my style. Maybe we're also setting norms together, right? How does this relationship work as a coach and an educator back and forth? How does this work? If I am giving any sort of feedback, it's low level. It's rooted in strengths. It is, I loved the way that you engaged that student when I was in there today, right? It's literally just starting to build the rapport, the relationship, and if you listen to episode 2, the psychological safety. That's what I'm really focused in on week 2 as a coach, okay? So first week, I'm getting really just orientated with the school, where we're at, the role, what this happens, how this all works together. Week 2, I'm getting in classrooms, but it's low stakes, and I'm starting to build relationship. And I'm telling a lot of my story, because as leaders, we lead first with vulnerability, right? We lead first with what we're good at, what we're not. We lead first with that. We cannot expect people to just tell us all about themselves and their school and their strengths and what they want to do, and we don't lead with that. We are responsible for creating that psychological safety. We also may start with some initial trainings in that week 2, but really more like week 3, some initial trainings. So that's when I'm saying, hey, here's the coaching framework that we're using this year. Here's what coaching looks like. It may look like LPCs. It may look like collaborative planning. It may look like observation. It may look like walkthroughs, right? But that week 3, I'm starting with some initial trainings. And really for a lot of folks, you're either in pre-planning at that point or maybe kind of right into that first week of school. What trainings do folks need in order to be successful for their jobs? The coaches are starting to give that, right? So am I giving science of reading training? Am I doing, am I talking about maybe specific platforms or curriculums that we're using, right? All of that starts happening week 2, week 3, where I'm starting to build the training piece of things. And this is a key moment for coaches because this is for some of us the first time that we're really getting in front of staff or new staff and giving it, setting the precedent for like how I lead, how I facilitate. Adult facilitation is different than teaching. And so this is the part of the time where the coach really now gets the moment to position themselves as an expert and as a coach, right? So you want to make sure too that you're really honed in on that week 3 to make sure that it is like professional development heavy and you're really intentional about how you're doing that. I always think back to like summer planning for the leadership team and coaches being really intense because you're just doing like a lot of PD. But it's also a moment for you to show up and show teachers how to be engaging. So a lot of the facilitation techniques that I use with adults, I will always be really cognitive and metacognitive with them about like, what do you see me doing as a facilitator or as a teacher that you can then take to your classroom? So that week 3 gives a lot, is like nuanced in like all that it provides. So yes, it's providing training, but it's also an opportunity as a coach to show up and show their own expertise as a teacher. I think often about how, once you've been kind of out of the classroom for a while, you'll get new teachers in who've never seen you teach, right? I was a teacher and coach and leader all at the same school. So veteran teachers knew that I was a darn good teacher, right? But some of the younger teachers who were just coming in didn't know that. And so me being able to facilitate PD well and effectively and in an engaging way allowed them to say, oh, okay, I understand she has an expertise that she's bringing to the table. And so that's really important. Another key thing you want to be doing during week 4 now I want to actually start observing with feedback in mind, right? So before I was observing, I'm just kind of gathering, I'm doing like data digging and gathering information. Week 4, I'm like, let's get into this observation thing and let's start the actual coaching cycles, right? So by week 4, I'm observing, I'm giving, but I'm also now having my feedback meeting. So that's when I'm meeting with the teacher one-on-one and I'm actually coaching now. By that first 30 days, you've got to start coaching. Too many times we look up and we've wasted a lot of time because we get too stuck in relationship building, not understanding that relationship building is ongoing. You don't want to bombard someone with a crazy amount of feedback at the beginning, but you also don't want to drag your feet because let's be clear, the tone that's been set by the end of the 30 days, a lot of times is going to stick for classrooms, right? It's really hard to undo that. So by week 4, you're doing observation for coaching. I'm doing my observation. I'm looking at lesson plans and providing feedback. I am now having the coaching and feedback meeting where I'm sitting with the teacher, doing reflection, data digging, and coming up with an action step. And then I'm following back up with the post-observation to see if the action step has been implemented. And I'm starting that cycle. Every teacher is now in that cycle by week 4. Okay, we're not wasting time. We're getting right by week 4. We're into actual coaching, not just observation. I hope that that's like clear. Observing at beginning in week 3, we're just observing for data digging. Week 4, we're actually now observing and we're giving feedback that we're now implementing into our coaching cycles. It's also important by the end of the 30 days as a coach, you're kind of doing some regular things. So you're having regular check-ins. That should be a part of your coaching. By the end of the 30 days, end of week 4, you should be able to say that you are having regular check-ins and meetings with those that you coach. That could look like the one-on-one meetings. That could look like that your LPCs and collaborative planning are up and running. Do not wait. When we talk about a strong start, that has to include academics. Oftentimes when schools are focused on a strong start, it's a lot of, it's mainly culture, which is key. Like we gotta, the rooms have to be ready for learning, but also the way that kids are in such need of gaps being closed. As a coach, I cannot put off giving academic feedback more than that 30 days. So by the end of 30 days, regular check-in should be, and monitoring should be happening. You should have already identified professional development opportunities and have done your educator analysis. If you are unclear of what that is, go back to episode 1 and watch that. So you should have been already in your educator analysis bag, which means that you know what every single person needs, and you've developed a professional development plan for them. So by the end of 30 days, every single teacher should know what they're working on this year. If I'm a teacher, I might know this year you're actually working on building your content knowledge. Especially if I'm a new teacher and I'm new to this whole thing, or I'm teaching a new content, maybe my goal this year is just building and adding to my content knowledge. At the end of 30 days, first month of school, I should be able to name that as an educator. Hey, I've sat with my coach and this is the thing I'm really working on this year. And here's the plan for that professional development. I'm going to this conference. I'm going to be shadowing this teacher. I'm going to be leading this meeting, right? Whatever. Those are the pieces to a professional development plan that should be very clear to every single person on your staff at the end of 30 days. I should know my strengths, my weaknesses, and what I'm working on over this school year and what that plan actually looks like. And then also too, in those first 30 days, I should have developed a community of practice. Practice is key, right? So oftentimes coaches don't know how to implement practice with teachers because it feels awkward. Like if we're being really honest, it feels awkward to stand up and like pretend to teach to someone, right? But the practice, if you watched episode 2, we talked about the fact that your body needs like the physical practice in order to make the connection. Your brain needs that, right? So in those first 30 days as a coaches, whether it's an LPC, collaborative planning, department meeting, I've established a culture of practice. So there's 2 pieces to that. So the first one is that we have talked in previous episodes about how much the brain is connected to adult learning. If you want for folks to be able to rapidly increase their skill, it has to have an element of practice to it. Now that can get weird for folks, right? Like oftentimes we don't want, teachers are like, I don't want to actually physically get up and practice delivering this like intro to new material, or I don't want to practice my line of questioning or my hook of my lesson or whatever the key component is that they're working on, or this classroom management strategy. But if they practice it physically, they'll get it faster, right? And like time is of the essence when it comes to this stuff. So you want to be able to have established a culture of practice by you leading first. So as a coach, if I'm asking someone to physically practice something, I always do it first. So I'm being vulnerable, I'm showing you first, hey, I'm practicing, I know it's awkward and weird, but I'm doing it, your turn, right? So that should be a regular part of how you coach, and that should be established before the end of those 30 days. The other thing you want to have when we think about community of practice is within those first 30 days, I want you to have established your coaching community. What other coaches are you reaching out to? What other coaches are you friends with? How are you getting resources? What professional development are you engaging in? Like, what's your coaching community that's going to help you be able to do this thing well and effectively? Plug, you can join our Facebook group, right? We have a coaching Facebook group that you can come and join, right? But find your community, and you need to have that established within those first 30 days. And then lastly, within those first 30 days, you want to make sure that as a coach, you have implemented a process for reflection for both you and for those that you coach. Reflection is, I think, underestimated. I think that we as educators reflect at like key kind of moments, but like larger gapped moments. So we'll reflect at the end of Q1 and Q2, right? Or we'll reflect at the end of maybe a unit. When really strong leaders Strong professionals have daily reflection practices, right? So at the end of the day, it can be as simple as what went really well, where did I drop the ball, or where was an area of improvement, and like how does that impact the next day? It can be just that simple. But as a coach, with how many touch points with humans you are having, you need to have your own process of reflection that you engage with daily, and it needs to be habit in those first 30 days. Okay? What went well in that coaching meeting? What did not? What strategy worked today? What did not? And what's the impact of that for me tomorrow, right? I then also want to have instilled in my teachers that I'm coaching each and every day some sort of reflection process as well, okay? And you model that being the coach. So the reflection piece is key because we know the first 30 days is kind of like a whirlwind, but month 6, right? Or if you're like me, that March stretch is hard. And so making sure that I already have the tools that I need to be able to reflect and adjust are going to serve me, maybe not so much in the first 30 days. They may not serve you as much as you need it because you're still on that summer high. But as you get through the school year, that power of reflection is going to be the thing that's going to anchor you and keep you moving. So in those first 30 days, I want you guys to really just consider what's your plan. I want you to download the tool that we have on our website, erinncottman.com. And it's going to give you literally an outline for what you should be accomplishing for a super strong start as a coach in those first 30 days. Thank you for joining me. Make sure you go download that resource, subscribe, comment, review, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.